So this video will wrap up our 6-week BJJ Beginners course. So thanks for attending, or thanks for watching if you've just been following online. We're gonna do a couple more takedowns here from our same base position. We'll just recap the base position first, and then we'll show a couple more options for it. So again, I'm facing my opponent, I'm chopping, I'm leading with my lead leg, I got my hands nice and tight, I'm not giving easy underhooks, I'm making sure we're tracking head position and fighting collar ties, all that kind of stuff we were talking about in the last video. I'm gonna come in left hand collar tie, right hand to the wrist. I'm circling my partner to my lead leg, and as I circle, I'm gonna open, step in, shoot an underhook. I shoot high around the shoulder here, and then my other hand on the other side is gonna swim. I'm gonna step in chest to chest. Again, in the last video, we were coming low and starting to pull our partner's hips in. Maybe sometimes we feel like this is difficult if his hips are far away, or we just wanna mix up our options. I'm gonna be high here. Elbows are both coming nice and high. And this time I'm gonna flare my elbows as I step my lead leg past. So I'm here, I'm gonna step past, and as I do, I'm gonna flare my elbows. If I was doing like a Muay Thai elbow to the side of his head, and I keep my elbows nice and high, I flare, and I circle around the back here, like this. All right, one more time. I'm back in, I punch, I stay high with my hands now with a high gable rather than a low. I'm gonna step past, and as I do, flare my elbows really big high, make them do like a big kind of overhand swimming motion. As I step through, I throw over and I get behind. From here, there's going to be loads and loads of options we're going to look at down the line, but a nice easy one to start is just driving our partner to the mat. I'm going to be here like this. I'm going to step around and step on his foot. So my right foot in this case is coming around and stepping on his left foot. I'm not stepping the same foot because it's hard to drive him forward here. Instead, if I'm behind him, my right foot circles. I take a big step with my left foot, and then I'm gonna toss my arms like I'm throwing like a bowling ball or a big sack of potatoes. So I'm here, I step to block this foot, foot to foot, I step my other foot past, and as I do, I drag him to the mat, and I follow down, and I come hip to hip here. One more time. Same position. I've got him in this rear body lock. My hands are tight, elbows pinched. I step around, and I step. If I try to step my foot with my toes pointing the same way, I can't really get a good kind of like coverage, so I step across. So my foot pins his foot. If I try to throw him from here, I can't really generate any power. So as I take a big step with my left foot, I can throw and drag. I don't want to throw and let go here. I want to stay connected and use my body weight to drag him down to the mat, where I can stay hip to hip, and I could start to attack a turtle position, or if it was self-defense, punch him or run away. All right. Another option from here is if we're feeling pretty big and strong, I'm gonna come here. I can do like a big mat return with a lift. My advice for this is to get your hips lower than the guy. If you're way bigger than the guy, it's not gonna make it big of a deal. You'll probably be able to lift him a bit easier. If you're around the same size as the guy or not as strong, you're gonna be wanting to get your hips in underneath. You see this all the time with, like, if I have you in a basic judo throw. If I try to judo through my partner from here, it's difficult. You see a lot of judo guys are always getting their hips lower, so that then I'm lifting with my hips. That's easy to get my opponent's weight up off the mat, and the same idea applies here. I come to my rear body lock. I'm gonna step both my feet around his feet. As I do, see I'm bending my knees and getting my hips underneath, popping my hips under his hips to help me lift here. If I just stand nice and tall and I try to lift low, it's gonna be really difficult. Again, if I'm maybe way bigger than my opponent, that might not be as hard. But in this case, I bring my elbows tight, I come back with my legs, and then as I step wide around his legs, my hips come underneath, and I pop them to get my opponent up in the air like this. Again, the best thing for this is just to get used to that motion of popping the guy up a couple times. Come in, pop his hips. Come back, come in, pop his hips. Until you feel like it's both nice and controlled, and again, like a deadlift, I'm not straining my back in those motions. The reason I bring my feet nice and wide is because I'm essentially gonna like give him like a dead leg on one side. My goal is to get him going vertical, so get him going horizontal on my mat return. So as soon as I lift him up, you see there I was lifting him up and I was holding him for a bit. As soon as I lift him up and his feet disconnect, on one side, we'll do our right side. My knee is gonna push across, kind of like a foot sweep, if you're here. Or again, I'm gonna give him this like dead leg motion. When I just pick him up and put him back down, his foot's gonna plant back on the mat. But now when I pick him up and I push with my knee against his knee, it's gonna buckle his foot sideways, and I'm gonna be able to mat return him. So I'll show from this angle first. As I come up, my foot goes side to side, I lift, I immediately push, and I can drive him to the mat. Some guys like to do this with like a foot sweep, just like foot to foot here. I like to do it with a knee push. This is just going to be personal preference. So again, I'm here, my hips come back. As soon as I get them up and I feel this disconnect, I push to the side. A lot of guys struggle with this because they hold the guy for ages, they hold him up, and then they try and get their knee in. So the easiest way is to make sure when you step, your foot lines up right beside, so my knee can immediately start to push and buckle. I'm here. As soon as I step in, I lift, I push, and again, I try to control my opponent back to this kind of turtled position where I could start to attack his back or run away if it was self-defense. All right, one last time. I'll show from like a side angle. I'll show from this side. That's a bit more, my more comfortable side. I step away, I step in and pop my hips. And then I can twist as well with my arms. I can even use my arms there to help drive at the same time as I push with my leg to get a strong mat return on my partner. And again, if I'm drilling, I try to be nice and controlled. I'm not going to drop them from a big height. So that's our two options where we go. If we get in a double underhooks, we could come low and do a takedown from last week, or we could come high, circle to this rear body lock, and we have a couple of options from there. Gonna look at one last thing, which if in the actual course, if you're here in person, we might not get enough time to cover all these. Just depends how well everyone picks it up, our timing, there's only so much time. But we'll show this last wee one anyway, which is just our basic entry into a single leg. Classic kind of wrestling position. So I'll be in the same position. I'll be left hand collar tie, right hand here. This time I'm gonna circle him, circle, and this time I'm gonna step past on the opposite side. So as I circle, I'm gonna step my left leg to meet his left leg. I'm gonna circle, my step here. So now I'm closing this distance. My back knee's coming to the mat, and my front knee's now coming to the mat. And I'm coming nice and tight with my head to here. And now I can start to look to pick up his leg. So essentially, again, this is like the warm-up drill. I'll be stepping, back knee to the mat, front knee to the mat. I keep my chest nice and high. I'm looking up. I'm not looking down to the floor. And I'm in this kind of like sprinter off the blocks kind of position like this. So instead of going for this far side, if I try to circle my opponent, but like this leg's leading, or I circle towards this near leg, I circle, I take a big step past my penetration step, back knee to the mat, front knee to the mat, so I come as tight as possible, like this. I can keep this wrist grip for now, that's all good. I'm gonna be wrapping his leg, and I'm gonna drive to stepping backwards. A lot of guys make the mistake here, where they just try and lift this leg off the mat. He's gonna be planted with a lot of weight. So if I just try and stand straight up here and lift his leg, it's really difficult. My goal is to use my shoulder and his hip and my head and my body lined up with his thigh here to push to get all his weight going on this back leg. You'll know that happens because he'll take a wee like hop with that leg to rebalance and to regain his weight. When that happens, you'll see that this leg becomes light and I can pick it up. So that's what we're doing in that motion. So I'm back here, I circle, I take a big step, I shoot, I connect, back knee to the mat. As I drive forward, I'm gonna step up on my back leg, step it back up, and I'm gonna drive and push through my shoulder. I drive, as I step up, I can lift my opponent's leg. And now from here, I can get a strong grip, whether it's kind of rear naked choke, bicep to here, whether it's grabbing down by the calf. And when I'm here, I'm pulling his knee nice and tight to my chest and holding really strong. I'm not like this. I'm like this, he's gonna be able to stamp his foot to him. I just step back in the front a bit more. I'm pulling up and nice and tight. My hand's coming up to my shoulder. His knee's like nice and tight to my chest. And I'm pinching my legs together so his foot stays nice and connected. And my head's going from low on the hip to up to the chest. If it's low on the hip, it's gonna be easy for him to push away and again, try and free his foot. If as I come in, I drive up high in the chest and I'm looking across his body, it's gonna be more difficult. So again, I'll show this one more time. I circle, say my opponent is leading more with his other leg. I pull him in and he just pulls forward. I take a big penetration step, back foot, back knee, near knee. See, I'm wrapping here. I'm gonna drive him towards the camera as I step up on my back leg, like this. Again, I pull this tight to my chest, so don't have your hand here. Punch through till you have your elbow, pull it tight to your chest. My head comes nice and high, I pinch my knees, I come like this. For my finish, I'm just gonna let my head come to the outside as I take a big back step. As I'm trying to bring my feet from a horizontal line to a vertical line, like this. and then I'm gonna pull down, kind of like I'm using a scythe, or I was trying to like drag my knuckles across the mat. It's called running the pipe. So I'm here, this grip, as my head circles, I'm gonna step back, using my shoulder at the same time to push in against my partner's thigh. So I'm here like this, I shoot, I drive, I come up, I get my grip. Nice tight grip here, head's up nice and strong. I back step, my shoulder comes down nice and strong here to put pressure down, and I'm going to open my legs up, turn into that space, and drive them to the mat. Like that. One more time, the whole sequence. I'm into here, I'm circling, I shoot, drive in, bring my partner to the mat. Again, we might not get to cover that in the class. We'll see how well we do with the other two. But that's our whole kind of sequence. So that can be your kind of like base position when we're in the stand-up. We're looking to hand fight and get ourselves to here. And then we have options. We can either try and come in low, high, or if we feel like that's not working, we can start trying to shoot. That'll be us for the course, again, on this set of videos. Thanks so much for starting your training under us at Trickster, or if you've just been watching the videos, thanks so much for following along, and see you again on the mat soon.